Hello, welcome back to the channel. And today we have the third of our 5, maybe 6, tier lists for positions of the NFL draft prospects. Today will be the wide receivers. So last of the offensive skill positions set here. First up, Nathaniel Dell, also known as Tank. He is the receiver from Houston. Bit of a smaller guy, not the biggest of guys out there. I see him more as a slot type receiver. As for will he go super high, will he do this? I don't really think so as much. Only at 5'8", 165, he had a ton of catches, a ton of touchdowns, lots of production in the system. He could be a good backup slot guy. I think I'll have him in the wide receiver 3/4 area for now. Up next, Marvin Mims, a bit bigger receiver. Similar to Eric Gray, one of the only guys that had much production on a relatively bad Oklahoma team. But similar to Tank Dell, kind of a wide receiver 3/4 guy. Not super high on what I liked here. Up next is a big sleeper in terms of guys that you don't really know about but probably should. Xavier Hutchinson out of the Cyclones of Iowa State. He was one of the best guys in the country. Should have been up for the Blitnikoff Award. I have him as on my fantasy team. Now, this tier is guys that are probably either top end receiver 3s, almost receiver 2s. But it's like you're watching a highlight comes in, and this is like the top guy getting added for receivers. It's like he's a kind of a fringe top guy, third option usually on an offense, but. He pops up on red zone, and you're like, oh, that guy, he's on my fantasy team. I always say, like, a good example of him would be, like, Brashad Perryman a few years ago. Guys that, can thrive in the right spot or have really good seasons every once in a while. Not a consistent, stud, but better than just your traditional wide receiver 3 or 4, kind of like a backup guy. Kind of like a streaky player. So I have him as a good example for that. Up next, Josh Downs out of UNC. I love Josh Downs. I think he'd be a really good wide receiver too. Another slot guy, though. There is a lot of slot receivers in this draft. At 5'9", 171, he had 94 catches, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. One of the few receivers with 1,000 yards here, but 94 catches, it's a lot in a PPR league. You might want him on your actual fantasy team, but he's not in the just fantasy tier guy. Depending on where he goes, if he goes to a team that really kind of needs another slot option, I think he'd thrive unbelievably. Like on the Eagles, he'd be very, very, very good on them. But I love his game. He was really good with helping Drake May become such a high-touted prospect in terms of next year's draft. So shout out to him. And I think he's one of the top receivers in this class and hasn't been talked about enough. Now, Jalen Hyatt time right here, obviously. Blitnikoff Award winner this year. Unbelievable numbers. He had 67 catches for 1,267 yards, averaging 20 yards almost a catch, 18.9 to be exact, and 15 touchdowns. He had almost the most touchdowns in the league. Only Tank Dell, I believe, had more. He had so many yards on such few catches. Every time you see this guy, he's wide open. I have a highlight video for him on my channel already. He's always wide open. He's so fast, always wide open. Is it the scheme? Is it him? We're going to find out, but I think it's him. And I think he is him, as you would joke. I think he's probably the top receiver in this class from an explosive standpoint. He reminds me a lot of Anthony Richardson, where people are super torn on him. Either he's going to be the guy, how the hell did he go in the late first, early second, when he's a Jamar Chase type guy, is what a lot of people hopefully will say for his sake. But then again, he could be like, oh, yeah, he was just one of those guys in that system, like a DeAnthony Thomas sort of thing back in the day with Oregon. You look at these guys and you're like, oh, my God, I'd do anything for him on my team. But it just doesn't turn out that he's nearly the player that, you thought he was going to be, you being, draft people. But I think he's got potential to be an absolutely generational type talent. And we'll see, obviously, how that all plays out, and especially if he ends up on a team where, like the Giants or the Chiefs, or you can just throw it deep and let him go get it. I love his fit on the Saints, though. Great fit on the Saints. I'll mock him there until I die. Up next, another one of the many slot guys, 6'9", 182, 78 catches, 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns for Zay Flowers. A little bit behind Josh Downs for me. People really like Zay Flowers more than Josh Downs. I think they're pretty much the same player. Just smaller slot guys, really good separation. Their ability to run routes is unbelievable, especially Zay. He can get open in a phone booth. He was one of the better guys in the red zone, like watching some of his tape. His ability to just kind of like always be on his feet, always moving, obviously always on his feet, you know what I mean, on the balls of his feet, and just his ability to get open. He had a lot of natural chemistry with the quarterbacks, so I like it, and I think he could be a really good plug-and-play guy. Josh Downs might need a bit to adapt to the NFL. I think Zay Flowers could be an instant impact guy as quick as the first weekend. So good luck to anybody that gets him. And I've seen him getting mocked a lot to teams later in the first round, like the Chargers or the Ravens or teams like that. But get him on the Chiefs, man, that could be a good little McCole Hardman replacement. Up next, the other Tennessee receiver, Xavier Tillman. I think he can be wide receiver too. He ran a crazy time at his pro day because he was injured pretty much the entire season. Was really fighting through a lot of injuries to get on the field and do his thing. Unfortunately, he was injured majority of the season. He only had 400 yards and 30 catches this year, but 3 touchdowns. Big-bodied receiver. The first one we have here, he's 6'3", 213. So he's, I believe, the second biggest in the class. He's up there with A.T. Perry and Tyler Scott, who both won't be in this video. But, when you compare him to Quentin Johnson, he's pretty much the same size. And, Quentin, you're like, wow, this guy's huge. He's always open all over the place. But, yeah, he's similar to that build. So I really do like Cedric. Really, really, really fast. So watch out for him on the next level. And now we have my favorite guy in the class from the Ohio State, Jackson Smith-Njigba, into what has to be, unfortunately, for me as a Michigan fan, wide receiver U. Jackson Smith-Njigba only had 5 catches this year, obviously, but look at the stuff last year. Another guy with a video on my channel already. He is unbelievable. When he was on the team with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and all the other guys there, Justin Fields, all that stuff, he was the best guy on the team. He was the best receiver out there, and that says a lot for guys that won the Rookie of the Year. Top 2 guys almost for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And he won it easily, Garrett Wilson. And he even says maybe he's just gassing up his guy to get him paid, which obviously good for him if that's the case. But he's such a good receiver where he's going to walk in and he's the wide receiver 1 instantly. I mean, he could be we've seen obviously with a guy like Garrett Wilson, almost make the Pro Bowl their rookie year, and I think this is going to be another example of that. So watch out for him, and whoever gets him, good for you. Jonathan Mingo, next receiver up, 6'2", 220 out of Ole Miss, 51 catches, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. They ran the ball a ton at Ole Miss, so that's kind of why some of his numbers are a little bit lower. He's gotten a lot of draft comparisons to A.J. Brown, which is ironic because they're pretty much the same size and obviously went to the same school, so it's like an easy comparison. I have him as an on my fantasy team guy. He could potentially slide up boards, but I think that he's got a lot to grow, but he's been sliding up boards big time. He was like an easy 4th round draft pick, 5th round draft pick, kind of like we got this guy late. That's cool. Let me look at his highlight tape. Oh, wow. Okay. Might have gotten a little bit of a sleeper here, but I've now seen him. I think he got mocked in the 2nd round. I've seen recently, which is crazy, a little bit high for me, but I see it. He's got a lot of promise, a lot of ability to go up. He's 6'2", 222. He can be physical, but he's also a little bit on the faster side where he can get open and do what he needs to do there. So really do like his game, and I would not be surprised if he goes a bit higher than a lot of people thought. So up next, Parker Washington. I have him as a wide receiver 3 or 4. I wanted to put him in here just because he was one of the best guys on the Penn State teams that I watched for over the past few years. I believe Tyler Boyd is his comparison, but he's a pretty good version of that. Could be a good 3rd guy where it's the top 2 guys are covered by the corners or one of them is out. He can step up if needed to, but I don't really see too much out of him. Would be a good day 3 pickup for your teams in the pros. Jordan Addison. So he was the Blitnikoff Award winner the year before when he was over in Pittsburgh in that system out there with Kenny Pickett. And then he went over to USC, a little bit underwhelming of a season, but with missing that many games as he did, he had 60 catches, 875 yards, and 8 touchdowns in a loaded system with the Heisman Award-winning quarterback. So, is it because he's in a good system with a good offense? Maybe. Do I think that's part of it? Absolutely. I'm a little bit lower on him than a lot of people are. And by low, I mean he's the end of my wide receiver twos. So he's still obviously in the top half, and he's a hell of a player. But I just don't think he's this all-pro wide receiver one level that a lot of people do. So I have him here. A little bit of concerns. He ran pretty slow. He wasn't testing very good athletically. But, I mean, we've seen people with bad combines. It's a lot of pressure, obviously, but so is the NFL. But, one workout shouldn't, tank your ability to be a really good player and prospect. So for that reason, maybe don't think of it too much. Charlie Jones, higher than a lot of people would think. I got him up on my fantasy team. He's the little white kid from Iowa that transferred to Purdue. He absolutely torched Michigan in a game. Obviously they lost, but I think he had like 11 or 12 catches, which was crazy, in a really pretty good Michigan secondary with guys like DJ Turner going to go probably in the second or first round. He was really good. Aiden O'Connell helped make him look good. So Charlie Jones, I think, is going to be a pretty solid receiver. I mean, he'll be the top end of the three, but I think he could be a wide receiver 3. But I think he's going to be a standout wide receiver 3 type guy. And unfortunately for him, he's going to draw a lot of Cooper Kupp comparisons, because he's white and he's a good route running guy. But I do think that he won't live up to that, obviously. But he's going to be a pretty good, productive guy. I think he could have a very long career, as a smaller guy, a Danny Amendola, guy, but maybe as a ceiling of Julian Edelman type thing. So, again, get him in a team that throws the ball, have him be like a fourth option for a team that throws it a ton, like the Raiders or something like that. I think that could be really good fit for him in his career going forward. Next guy we have on our board here is Quentin Johnson out of TCU. Really, really, really good player. I got him as the top guy on my wide receiver 2. I can't make him an all-pro, but he's a huge, huge player. 6'3", 208, 60 catches, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. Not as many touchdowns, but a lot of those were like, he would – I think in the video that I have for him coming out shortly, he's been so close to so many of these touchdowns. It was kind of crazy that like he would always fall down at like the 4 or 5 yard line and then punch it in. Obviously, as a Michigan fan, he torched us in the Fiesta Bowl, which was tragic and terrifying for me to see. But good for him to get drafted this high, and hopefully we'll have a long career. I know one or two guys that I know were talking about how he's like Calvin Johnson size. And they mentioned Calvin Johnson. I was like, okay, he's not Calvin Johnson. But, the more that you look at it, I'm not calling him Calvin Johnson by any stretch, but he's the best big receiver in this draft, I would say. Pretty close behind is Cedric Tillman. But if you want a big jump ball threat to add to your offense, this could be your guy. Like if you're the Giants and you kind of need a bigger receiver down the field, Quentin Johnson you could have higher up because he's such a different receiver from this class. You look at this class, and it's almost all slot, small speed guys, outside of Cedric Tillman and Jonathan Mingo and, even farther down the list, Michael Wilson, A.T. Perry. You've got a bunch of small guys, and he's not that. So that sets him apart and, could be a reason why he's the first receiver off the board. I would still think it'd be JSN, but I would not be surprised if it was Quentin. Up next, shout out my Sparties, Jaden Reed. I got to put someone down here. The next few guys are all going to go down here. He's a solid player, and I know it says /bust. That's kind of mean by me, but, obviously some of these guys are going to end up busting out. I think that he's a very solid receiver and could be a good bottom tier 4, but I need to put some guys in the bottom tier. But he's a end of the line 4, probably undrafted free agent-ish type. I think will go probably in the 6th or so round. Same with Ronnie Bell. No homerism here, okay? Ronnie Bell is going pro. I think he should have came back for another year and could have gotten drafted or taken higher. purely off the fact that he was a Michigan guy on their national championship winning team this upcoming season. Yes, I said that right. You heard that right. Michigan's winning it all, of course. But yeah, he just had like not many good stats. Michigan obviously didn't throw the football at all last year, and it's tough for him to showcase his ability, but hopefully for him he does, and he has a long, successful career. Last up, we have Keyshawn Booty. It's just tough to see. This guy for a long time was up here. Said he was going to come back. Everyone thought it was going to be good, and then just throughout the season he kept falling down. He's just got some work ethic issues. But if he figures it out and gets in the right system, I think he could be a generational type receiver, as crazy as it is, but coming out of LSU, but just not enough out there. He barely played this year. He had a lot of issues off the field, things like that, some potential shenanigans that led to him not being even allowed to come back and kind of forced his hand into the draft. Those are uncorroborated reports, but that's kind of what I got there for the end of this video here. So I'll leave it there. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Again, like the other ones, this link to this will be in the description in case you want to do one, and let me know what you think. But thank you all for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.